Have you ever wanted to do a sport in high school or college or beyond that you dreamed about doing when you were very young? Most kids, I think, grow up early on wanting to be an athlete in some kind of sport. For example, I always wanted to play basketball, except I was short, I was slow, and I couldn't shoot. So I had to give that up and do something else. But that makes today all the more special because I'm going to talk with someone who started playing softball when she was just 6 years old and is now a senior, plays first base, sometimes catcher. I can't believe that, at NC State. Her name is Haley Haislip. Grew up in Garner, gone to state, going to work at First Citizens Bank, which seems sort of dull compared to playing baseball, but it makes probably more money. Welcome, Haley. It's good to see you this afternoon.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here and be on your podcast today,
Well,
and
it's going to be fun.
I'm
It's
excited.
well, thank you for doing this. I really do appreciate it. How long have you played base softball since the first grade? Was it so when you're six? Is that what
I
you?
guess so. Yeah, I've been playing ever since I don't know, I could walk really, but yeah, I played a bunch of different sports and softball was the one that stuck out to me the most, or maybe the one I was the best at. But I've just enjoyed it ever since, and I just stuck it out and kept pushing, and it's taught me so much about myself and so much about life, and I'm grateful to be in the position that I am today.
You started at T-ball. Is that right?
Yes,
What
T-ball.
kind? How long does T-ball go through? What age?
Oof, I'm not sure. I feel like you can go probably until you're 8, 7, maybe. I'm not sure. I probably played it for a year or two, and then I went and did a rec league in Fuquay, and I played in that for probably 2 years. My dad was my coach, and we kind of got to do the thing together. And from there, I went to travel ball, so kind of going locally around to a bunch of different tournaments and playing against other teams. Then it progressed to where I played in a national team. So I traveled all across the country. I went to California, Colorado, New Jersey, New York, anywhere you can name. I probably went there for softball. So, and obviously from there, I went to play collegiate softball, and here I am.
And you played all 4 years at it's NC State.
Yes. Yep.
How did you come to play first base?
So I actually started playing catcher first for a while, and I think my knees kind of gave out on that one after so
Uh,
long. It's just really tiring. And I found a love for first base. I think you get a lot of action over there, and I think it's fun. I get to be a leader on the field and talk to my teammates while I'm out there. And I just found a love for it.
you get nervous.
Do what?
You get nervous playing defense on first base, afraid you might not catch the ball or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you do feel the pressure for sure. I think a lot of times it's easy to get in your head, and, you know, if somebody necessarily doesn't throw it right at you, you kind of have to use your skills to make sure that you get the out. So I think sometimes, but I think with a lot of practice and preparation, the nervousness kind of goes away in a sense. And so I think once I got comfortable with it, I didn't feel as nervous anymore.
Starting out playing softball, what do you think for anybody, but particularly for you growing up, that it taught you about yourself?
A lot. I think at a young age I didn't really know kind of what my purpose was in life and what I wanted to do or anything like that. But I think it gave me a sense of structure in my life. So having a schedule every day, keeping myself out of trouble, it helped me meet people I would have never met before. I mean, if it weren't for softball, I wouldn't have the friendships that I have today. But most importantly, I would say it's taught me a lot about leadership and time management. Those are the biggest things you have to have as a student athlete is time management, organization skills, like communication, all of the above. You have to have them all. And I think I learned that just from growing up. So
By the time you got to college, do you think you were pretty well developed on your time management skills with studying and playing sports?
I for sure thought I was. I thought I was. And I think my freshman year I had to learn it a lot, I guess more extensive. Because obviously I had it in high school, but college is a little bit different, more homework, I don't know. It was definitely something I had to learn more of because practice times are longer. So some of your days are cut out to where you have time for homework. So definitely something I had to learn over time. And I would say I'm a lot better at it. And I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I am pretty good at it now because of it. Um,
Well, how many hours in a semester do you take at college? How many hours would you take?
I'm taking 18 right now,
Good
um,
gracious,
which is a
that's a lot.
lot. 18, yes. Yeah, it's a lot.
So, is that a class almost every day?
Yes, every day except for Friday. Even one day I have one at 6:30 p.m.
When
So
is do you practice every day?
yes. So in season you have 20-hour practice weeks. So you practice for 20 hours out of the week. And so my day-to-day would look like I would have class at 8:30. Then I have another class at 10:15. Lift at 12, and then practice from 1 to 4. And then after that, you have to get study hall hours. And it's a lot. It's almost like a full-time job sometimes, but it's a lot.
When you travel, how do you keep up with your school courses?
Yeah, I think it's a lot about communication with your professors. I think you kind of have to make sure you let them know that you won't be there, but it also is kind of on me to make sure I get all my work done ahead of time. Or, sometimes we'll have study hall on the road trips, and they'll give us time to work on our homework and make sure we get all that done. Because most importantly, like we're a student first before an athlete, and that's what they try and prioritize all the time.
Okay, we've gotten some of the more serious questions out of the way about
Okay.
being there. I want to ask you a basic question. Is it fun playing softball?
Yes, it is fun. I think it brings kind of the kid out in you. I think when you grow up, you're trying to think about so many things of what you want to do with your life. And, I don't even know. There's so many things you can think of, but I think the second you step on a softball field, it instantly all goes away. And, you're just out there having fun with your best friends, basically. And it's really fun. Yes. Yeah.
Do you like hitting as much as playing first base?
Yes, I love hitting. I think hitting is a lot more rewarding than playing first base because hitting is probably the hardest thing to do. You're facing amazing pitchers all the time, the best of the best, and getting hits off of them or home runs is so much rewarding. And honestly, what we put a lot of time and effort into. So definitely hitting for the win.
What does it make a difference whether you hit a single, double, or triple? I know it's more fun to hit a home run, I guess, but to hit a single or double, what is just it's just fun to get on base, I guess.
Yeah, definitely fun to get on base. I think it sucks sometimes when you don't get a hit and you feel like you've let your teammates down, but I don't know. Sometimes I think singles are more fun than I don't know. It's hard to say. It depends on the game situation. I think if it's a clutch game and it's your time to shine, I don't know. I would say probably a home run in that moment would be would be awesome. But I don't know. I feel like anything you can get, you'll take it.
What do you think playing a sport has done for you or other student athletes in college? What do you think it does for you that the other kids don't get to do or have?
Yeah, I think sometimes as student athletes, you feel like you miss out on things, but in reality, I think it's the other way around. I mean, we get so many experiences just for being on the team. You get friendships, you get free food sometimes.
I,
You get to you
I,
get to travel to places you'd never traveled before and get to see new places. I love to travel, so I think that was one of my favorite parts. It's just seeing new places again with my friends, and most importantly, I talking with recruiters for jobs. You kind of stand out a little bit when you're an athlete. You get life experiences that, some people have never gotten, being an athlete. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing.
what's your favorite place that you've traveled to as a softball player?
I would probably say Arizona. That was a really cool place. That was last year. We went to Arizona. I've never been there before, and it was beautiful. It was so pretty.
Where did you go in Arizona?
We went to, oh goodness, we went to the University of Arizona. I'm not sure where it's at. But I remember we got off the plane and there was these cactus out there. And we were trying to take a picture in front of it. And I accidentally fell backwards and the cactus stuck my leg. And I was like, is this what it's like to live here? Like, this is crazy. But yeah, it was a cool place for sure.
What's the least fun place you've gone to? And don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but what's the least fun place?
Syracuse and New York.
That would
Not,
hurt.
it was not my favorite place at all. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere and it's cold. And I'm not a big fan of the cold. Actually, last year, this weekend, we were in Syracuse and it was freezing and miserable.
Is it harder to play in cold weather than warm weather?
Yes, yes, because when you're hitting, your hands, like when you swing and hit a ball, your hands rattle because it's so cold. It's the most painful thing I've ever felt. It hurts so bad. And like you just can't get warm because you can't go anywhere. You're outside. Thankfully, sometimes places will have heaters. Like in our dugout at State, we have heaters, and I'm telling you, when I'm in the dugout, my hands are always up there making sure
Ah,
I'm staying warm.
where do you play? Do you play the same? Do you play your games at the same place the baseball teams play, or is it a different field?
No, we have a different stadium. Ours is in the middle of campus, which I actually really like. It's right across from Reynolds. And it's super cool because people walk by going to their classes and we're out there practicing or playing. And I don't know, it's just cool because I feel like a lot of times the facilities are far away from campus and nobody ever knows where your field's at. So I love that it's right in the middle of campus.
That I guess that helps with people coming to see your games as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say so.
What's the greatest thrill that you've had playing? What has been the most exciting time as a player that you've had?
Hmm. I would say, this one's hard. I think in college, my favorite, there's two. We played LSU and they were ranked really high, and we definitely were not expected to win it at all. And we ended up winning, and our pitcher was from Louisiana. And so it was this whole crazy coincidence. And that's probably a game I won't forget. We were going crazy, like tossing water everywhere. And then came back in the locker room, played music, and we're dancing in there. So that was definitely one of them. And then we played Clemson last year, and they were also ranked very high. And once again, we were not expected to win that game, and sure enough, we did. And it was so much fun, so much fun. But definitely those two games. And then maybe in high school, let me
Yeah,
think.
tell me about high school.
Yeah, high school was fun. Like high school ball was my favorite, I'd say, just because you don't have the stress of college and performing. I mean, when you're in college, there's 25 girls on the team versus in high school, I mean, you have probably 15 maybe, and the skill level is of all sorts. And it's just fun. Like you go out there and you don't think about anything. Like you just go out and have fun. And I think that's why in high school I probably performed the best I ever have because you're just not thinking about anything. So
Well, I
I miss that.
was reading something about you in high school and something about these awards of becoming a three-time All-State infielder.
Yes, yeah, I did. I guess I got pretty good at it in high school. It was fun for me.
And the team's most valuable player for a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I did get selected for that, yes.
Was that based on and was that based on both hitting and fielding or what? What do you think is your better skill?
I would say it was probably mm, I would say fielding for the first award you mentioned. Um, I didn't really have a lot of errors in high school, so I think that's where that came from. And then MVP, I would say it probably came from leadership in a way. I was a captain for the team, and it was just something that I guess I I guess I did good at.
What do,
And
what do captains do? When you say leadership, what does a leader on a team do?
Yeah, I think it involves effectively communicating with people. Everybody communicates differently, and I think as a leader, you have to understand how to speak to people in the ways that they understand it and the way that they respect it. I think that's a big thing is communication, but also just having respect for each other and sometimes having the harder conversations when nobody really wants to say it. And then most of all, just being a good role model. I think a lot of times if you're a captain, people follow what you do, and you have to make sure that you're setting a good example for what you want your team expectation to be.
I know that winning is probably more fun than losing,
For sure.
but do you find that in losing a game, you learn anything from that experience?
Yeah,
Or
I think you learn so much more from losing than you do from winning all the time. And I think that's honestly just a life lesson in general that if you don't lose, you can't learn. And if you don't make mistakes, you won't learn from them. I think that's the biggest thing is, it sucks to lose, but it's something that needs to happen in order to find a growth and a spot for you to keep improving at.
when you lose a close game, let me ask you this, is it hurt to lose a close game more than it does to get just blown away?
I would say yes. The close games are the ones that hurt probably worse. Just because I mean, you're playing this game for 7 innings and you're so close to winning or so close to losing, and it's hard because at that point everybody's trying to give everything they have and pull out all their tricks and tools, and when it doesn't work out, I think that one kind of hurts the most. But also it's good to know that you can sit there and compete and keep fighting. I think that was something that we were trying to find this year was a little bit of fight. I think in past years, we didn't necessarily have that, and this year we were really aiming for, when you get in games like that, you just got to keep fighting and keep pushing, like never give up.
Well, how long does your season last? What
Um,
when
the ACC tournament is in May, I believe, and then if you make it into the NCAA like College World Series, honestly just the tournament, that can last until the end of June, maybe into July. I don't
where
know.
do they where do they
July.
play the ACC tournament?
It changes every year. Last year we went to Pitt, all the way in Pittsburgh, and I'm not sure where it's at this year. It might be at Notre Dame this year.
Where do they play the NCAA? Where's the College World Series played?
They play in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
OKC. They
Okay.
have a
Okay.
they have a set field there, where all the Hall of Fame is, and that's a cool place to go. And I hope in my time we can go. But it's a really cool place.
Is your all's team this year a veteran team, young team, sort of
Young, for sure.
young?
Yeah, there is, I want to say 3 or 4 seniors, and the rest are all a lot younger than us. But honestly, you wouldn't even be able to tell just because these girls are so mature and such great people that you would never know. So,
Well, what is the team that you would like to beat most? Do you have a team that you would like to beat most, or you like to beat them all?
I think, well, definitely beat them all, but I think if there's a team, mm,
Yeah, and if you don't want to say that, that's I understand.
no, it's just hard to think about. I would say an easy answer would be UNC just because they're our rivals. And somehow it's always like a close game and a good game. So I would say UNC would be mine.
Yeah, just do you okay. Okay. If you had your college experience to do over again, if you were coming to school this year as a freshman,
Hmm.
would you still want to play a sport as
Yes.
opposed to not playing a sport?
Yeah, I would definitely prefer to play a sport. I think if I didn't have a schedule every day, I'd probably lay around like a couch potato and not do much
Yeah,
with my day. And
yeah.
again, just meeting all the friends that I've made and all the connections that I've also made with, other sports teams and just leadership and within state. They have such great resources here, and I would have never gotten to use them if it weren't for this opportunity. So I'm definitely very thankful for it. But there's also things that I would tell myself before taking this experience just to make it a little more easier on myself for sure. And I can tell you what that is if you want to know what I would tell myself.
Yeah, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, I think as athletes, it's really hard to differentiate, the fact that your sport is what you do, it's not who you are. I think as an athlete, you always get the two mixed up and think that, I'm just a softball player or I'm just a basketball player, whatever. And you kind of define your whole day and who you are as a person based on your performance. So if you're doing really good, you feel really good about yourself. But then if the second you do bad, it's almost kind of a downhill slide from there. So I think that would be the biggest thing I'd tell myself is that just the sport is not who you are, it's just what you do.
Is that something you had to learn over time?
Yes, for sure. And sometimes I'm still kind of learning it. I take my advice every once in a while, but yeah, it's definitely something that I know just from talking with some of my teammates. It's just something that you have to learn a lot over and over again.
Do other kids at school treat you differently because you play a sport?
I wouldn't say differently. I feel like if we were on the basketball team, maybe just because they have a bigger platform than we do. But they definitely think it's cool and they think our gear is really cool to have. But they don't treat us any differently and, you know, which I appreciate. I don't really feel like we need to be treated differently. But yeah, no, nothing crazy. They're not like, oh my gosh, like how crazy is this? Um,
It's is it hard though? Let me ask you this. Is it hard being athlete in college?
yes. It is not easy. It's not for everybody. I mean, I know plenty of times when, I thought I couldn't do it anymore, but I kept remembering my 6-year-old self in a little uniform wanting this so bad. And so I just kept playing for her. And I think that's what kept me going all this time. But yeah, it's not for everybody, that's for sure. But people that do it, it is worth it.
What makes it hard?
I would say it's a lot. So, I mean, you don't really have time for a lot of things. I mean, if there's, your friends are doing something on the weekend, it's not like you can go hang out with them and go spend time with them. And you have homework and a bunch of sacrifices you have to make sure you have enough time for practicing extra and being on time for everything and getting your homework. It's just, it's so many things that adds up, and it's a lot. And I think a lot of times something that we try and focus on is like mental health. And I think a lot of times we push our mental health to the side and kind of just keep saying like we're okay, we're okay. Um, Even though sometimes, you know, you might be struggling a little bit more than what you think. And it is difficult, but again, like I said, it's worth it. It is.
Do you think it's helped your grades, hurt your grades, made you better at managing your time so that your grades haven't suffered in school?
Right. It depends. My
You know what
freshman
school it
year,
is.
yeah, my freshman year, I know I had pretty great grades. And then we had a coaching change mid-season last year, and I think that was kind of the time my grades slid a little bit. I mean, they weren't bad, but it wasn't what I'm used to for myself, and those slid a little bit, but we have so many resources. I have an academic advisor, and I meet with him weekly to make sure I'm staying on top of my task and making sure I'm going to be able to graduate. And then we have study hall and tutors. So they give us so many resources to make sure that we succeed.
The kids who play on the softball team, do you live throughout the campus or throughout the Raleigh area close to campus? In other words, you don't have a special place to live, or do
Right.
you?
So we don't. But freshman year, you live in Wolf Village dorms and you live with your teammates. And I think that was fun. That's where, I mean, I lived with them for the rest of, my time here. So I think I think that's nice that they do that. I think they give you that to see kind of how it is. And then, I mean, past that, you can figure out what you want to do. But I've lived in the same place for 3 years after that and still living with my best friend. And so I love it.
Are some of your best friends your teammates?
Yes, for sure. For sure. They are my best friends. Yeah, they are.
What's your hope for when you finish school and looking back on your time at state? What do you think you hope to remember most that you've gained from all these experiences?
I think I want to remember kind of what it took to get through it, to know that, after college, I can really do anything. I think my experience has been unique and not many people have gone through the things that we went through. And I would definitely just say looking back and seeing how strong of a person it made me and realizing that anything in life I can tackle regardless of how many failures come from that. I think you just keep pushing.
Suppose I was a freshman
Okay.
and I was starting out and you were a junior, not a senior. You're going to be here next year. And I'm just coming to campus and I'm meeting with a team and I'm nervous or apprehensive. What advice would you give me as a freshman? What would you say to a young person getting ready
I
to play
would
a sport?
I would just say that you're gonna be nervous at first, and honestly, it'll go away before you know it. There's so many of your teammates that want to sit there and help you through your experience because they were in their shoes at that point, and like they know what it took to get out of that. And I mean, I slowly got out of it, and I just think making sure that you find your people that'll help you through your whole journey at like wherever you go, I guess. And that was the thing that helped me the most, was just building friendships with girls that were a little bit older than I was, just so that they could help me through this experience, because I mean, it's tough. You're moving away from your family. That's the first time you've probably ever done that before. And there's a lot of responsibility thrown on you within the first couple of weeks of college. And so I think advice from older girls on your team are really helpful.
What would you tell me to be careful to avoid if I were a freshman? What should I avoid doing?
I would avoid comparing yourself to people. That would be the biggest thing. I think other than that, I mean, there's not really anything you're gonna avoid except for, I mean, maybe not going out on the weekends and going crazy and all that. But I think the biggest thing that you need to avoid is just comparing yourself to other people's college experience because everybody's is going to be a little bit different. I think for a while I was comparing myself to, you know, some of my friends that don't play a sport and I'm like, oh, like I wish I had that experience. But then maybe they're thinking the same thing about me and they're like, oh, like I wish I was in her shoes. So I think it's really hard to sit there and compare yourself because then you're always going to be unhappy. And that was a big thing for me is just, you know, be grateful for what you have and, you know, your experience is what you make it.
You know, I don't think I've asked you this. What, and looking back, do you have a couple of special memories from couple of games that you thought you did well in that made a difference?
I would say my first ever home run in college. That was one I'll remember. The bad thing is I can't remember what team it was against. But
That's okay.
I know we were winning by a lot and it was a long time coming. I hadn't hit one in a while. And so that was just an amazing feeling. My grandma was in the stands crying and I saw her after the game and she made me want to cry and just everybody being so proud of you for something that seems so little, but yeah, I would definitely say hitting my first college home run. Um I'm trying to think. There's I mean, I've made a couple of cool plays, I guess, where I had to dive for a ball. But I would say just my first home run would probably be the most memorable one.
Is it, do you ever get a fly ball up way high up in the air that's in your area and you have to catch the ball?
Yes. Yeah.
What's that like?
Oof. Oh
Waiting,
my.
for, what's it like?
Honestly, you would think it would be the easiest thing, like easiest out in the world, but sometimes like you're like looking up and you're staring at it for a while and it's like kind of looks like it's doing funny faces at you and it's like, okay, like am I gonna catch this? Yeah, it's a lot. You have to like remember to keep moving your feet and just keep focusing on it. There's been a time where I've dropped it before just because it's up there for so long and like you think you can just sit there and wait for it, but then like the wind catches it or it's got spin on it and it moves. Yeah, those are hard. Those are hard.
Do you ever experience this feeling? If I were playing first base, I would go out there and hope that the ball is hit somewhere away from me, probably into the outfield. So maybe I can get through the whole inning and I don't have to catch or throw the ball. Do you ever do you ever feel like that? Do you ever want to avoid the ball
Uh,
coming, or do you want it to come your way?
I think it depends on who the hitter is. I think if they're a powerful hitter, sometimes I'm like, oof, I don't know. But I mean, at first base, you really don't get a lot of action unless they're throwing it to you. Um, so I think sometimes I do wish they would hit it over my way because I get kind of bored just catching it and I'm like, come on, guys, like I'm right here for you. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It depends. It depends for sure, but I think I'd say I want it like want the ball hit my way versus not.
What's a double play like? Do you get nervous at a double play, waiting for it to develop?
No, I love double plays. It's kind of rare in softball, not rare, but it doesn't happen very often to make double plays. And I think it just gets everybody so excited. Like everybody is so excited when it happens and pumped up and all I can hear is like the stands going crazy, my teammates in the dugout going crazy. So I definitely think I don't know. It's really exciting. But you also have to remember at first base, you have to extend super far to make sure that like the girl's out. And sometimes I'm just like, just remember to catch the ball. Like just catch it. Like let's get her out. But yeah, it's fun.
If you ever caught the ball and had your foot off the base, so you forget to put your foot on the base
I'm trying to think. I didn't forget to put it on the base. Sometimes the throws kind of lead you
off
off
the
of
base.
it. And I was stretching really far this one time, and the umpire said I was off the bag, but it's all right. It's all right. We probably got her out later on, so it's okay. But yeah, I've definitely done it before.
So what are you going to do after softball? What are you going to do after you graduate?
Yeah, so I did two internships in the summer. So I did it my sophomore going into junior year, my junior going into senior year. And through that, it gave me the opportunity to work at First Citizens Bank as a business analyst. And that's what I'll be doing starting in August. So I'm super excited. It's something different, something, you know, that I've never really done before. And I think that's something that excites me because it's something new.
Is that going to be based in Raleigh or elsewhere?
Yeah, it's actually remote, which is really nice. I get the comfort of my own home. But it's the corporate side of it is based in Raleigh and North Hills.
Okay, okay. And I think you mentioned that you were interested perhaps in real estate at some point in time.
Yes, yes. I think real estate could be really fun. I love meeting new people and talking to them. As you can tell, I probably am like just chatting your ear off right now, but I like doing things that are different every day. I think I've lived kind of a fast-paced life my whole life, always being gone with softball and traveling to new places. So I think real estate could be also very interesting to pursue.
Have your parents been able to come to a lot of the ball games?
Yes. So since they live in Raleigh, it's super nice. They would come to literally every game. And then when we would travel, they would try and make sure that they could make it. My little brother races race cars. And so sometimes they would have to be off at, his races, but they would always try and split up to make sure one of them is with me.
What kind of race cars does he do?
He used to drive a Legend race car, and now he's driving a big late model this year. He's 16. He's young, and he's racing them. So scary. But he loves what he does, and he's really good at it. And honestly, that's something that I used to enjoy doing after games. I would drive over to his race real quick and go watch him do his thing and watch him win after we just won and 2 wins for the night. I loved it.
Do you have any other siblings other than your brother?
No, just him. He's
Well,
enough. He's enough. Just one is enough for me.
I'll tell you who's going to have withdrawal after you graduate. It's not going to be you. It's
I
going to be
know.
your parents not having games to go see.
I know. I know. But hey, it might be nice for them just to have some downtime.
That's true. That's true. If you were a mom years hence, would you try to get your son or daughter interested in playing a sport? Would you encourage them to do that?
For sure. I would say yes, 100%. I don't think I'd be the person I am today without the sport that I played. I mean, I used to play basketball as well, so like that taught me a couple of things, but softball for sure. Um, And also, I think when you're growing up, sometimes it's hard to find like a group of people that you fit in with and like a crowd of friends. And I think, playing softball, I met again some of my best friends that I mean, they'll be in my wedding one day. And if it weren't for softball, I would have never met them. And I'm just really thankful again for the opportunity. And who knows, like maybe maybe you play and you end up being able to play in college and getting a scholarship and if you're really good, you could go pro and who knows. But I think the biggest thing is just making sure that you love what you do. I think if not, it's really hard to play the sport. Um, so yeah, I definitely say do it. It keeps you structured, keeps you on a schedule, keeps you in shape. I mean, it's a really great choice.
That's good. So how much more of your conference schedule well underway now? You still have a lot of games still to play.
Um, hmm. I want
When's
to say there's probably, oof, I mean, there's still a while to go. There's
Yeah.
still a lot more games to go. I would definitely, mm, yeah, there's a lot. I don't know. I would say probably 4 or 5 more weekends of ACC play. But like sometimes we'll play teams within the week. So it'll be like a midweek game. We'll just play somebody just so that we can get live pitching. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a long time coming for sure.
Is there anything that we have not talked about that you want to say?
Hmm.
Anything that I've not asked you about?
I'm trying to think of if there's any like advice or
I, re-
something.
I remember when we first talked about this a couple of weeks ago, either in person or on an email, that you referenced the idea that you thought it would be the people ought to know more about what it's like to be an athlete, a student athlete.
Yeah.
What do you think that the the fan, the person who goes to a game but doesn't have a relative in the mix,
Hmm.
what would you like the public to know about what it's like to be you and what you've had to do to succeed?
Yeah. I think I think athletes get kind of a rep that, they just play their sport in college. That's all they do. Like they don't really go to classes or, their classes are super easy. Um, but that's definitely not it. And, I again, our team stresses that like you're a student before you're an athlete, and the amount of time and effort that they want us to put into our classes with tutoring and as our study hall hours. I had 8 study hall hours throughout the week on top of practice and everything. Um, I think sometimes also people really only see the good and or not even the good. I mean, they see the bad too, but I think they just see kind of an outside perspective on what the sport is like. They just see it on TV or, see pictures on Instagram or Facebook of you, really happy. But in reality, sometimes like athletes do struggle a lot with mental health. I mean, I've known several athletes that struggle, and people are really quick to judge when you make an error or you make a bad play, or honestly with any sport, they're really quick to jump on athletes and be like, oh, you blew the game for us and all this. But at the end of the day, like we're humans and we make mistakes just like everybody else. And it's hard, and it's sometimes we take it really personal. And I think that's a big thing that people need to understand is that it's really hard what we do. It's not easy balancing school and softball and, trying to have time for your friends. I have a puppy, so I have to make sure that I let him out during the day and that he's, taken care of. So there's a lot of things that go into it that I don't think people necessarily understand. And I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. I don't think people would understand how hard it is until they go through it. And yeah, it's tough. I'll be honest, it's tough, but it's worth it because it's a unique experience that not a lot of people get to have. And, sometimes they really wish they had this opportunity. Um, so that was kind of a long, a long explanation, but I think that's something that people, don't necessarily understand.
I think that was a great answer. That's what I was looking for to ask you, and you just sort of gave the answer without me having to ask the question. That's really what I was trying to get at. The people need to understand. What kind of puppy do you have?
I have a golden doodle. I love him. Oh my goodness. He's crazy though. He's
What's his
crazy.
name? What's
His
his
name's
name?
Oakley because we live in the city of Oaks. So Oakley.
That's pretty cool. How old is he?
Oh, he's 8 months. He's a puppy. Oh my goodness. I have my hands full all the time. All the time. Oh my goodness. Yeah. My parents tried to tell me that I wasn't ready for him. And I was like, oh no, like I can do it. Oh, it's hard. Oh, it's
Is it?
hard.
It's probably right up there with playing softball, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's up there for
It
sure.
was,
It's a lot of
it was,
responsibility. And
uh,
I I wouldn't have had the responsibility if it weren't for softball. So thank goodness for that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a lot.
listen, This has been fun. This has been one of the most enjoyable ones I have done. I don't know that you know that, but you have talked and just in our conversation, so many things about so many principles and good points that I hope people will watch and listen.
I know,
And
me too. I hope, I mean, I hope they enjoy it and, would like to hear more from athletes or just other people's experiences.
absolutely. You take care. Thank you for doing this. I hope you have a great weekend,
Yeah.
and I bet I will talk and see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks.